Hi friends, this is Sarah from Crafting and Relaxing. Welcome, welcome. Thanks so much for joining me. This is a look behind Smash Those Small Pads. It's a collaboration and you may have already seen the finished card project share, but I just wanted to show you how I started it and how I approached it. I looked at the papers and noted that some of these sentiments were cards that if I made them as a card, I wouldn't necessarily use them, or they would sit for a long time. It's up to you to see the beauty of everyday things. Just bloom wildly. Smell the roses, please. I'm going to use a bunch of these little embellishments and things, but you're not going to necessarily see cards with these chopped up images on them because I want to be sure I make cards that I use. So I got out a bunch of sentiments out of my stash that I thought went color-wise, and I started experimenting with what could I use to cover up the sentiments that I won't use. Now, these are great sentiments, and I mentioned in another video that I already have some of these sheets that I got in Happy Mail and was super excited about. I will use these in journals, in nature journals, cute little pockets, embellishments, that sort of thing, but I won't necessarily use them on cards. I might not use a card that says, "Let's go explore." So I'm going to use a combination of either chopping these up and using them as they are, or maybe I'll cut around the butterflies and drop the "Let's go explore." So I put a little bit of planning into it. It's not just a paper pad where I'm going to chop everything up and I know exactly what I'm going to use. I'm thinking about it. Then I went through and said, okay, we know I'm using this paper. Do I want it with gray? Do I want it with black? Not sure yet. I absolutely wanted to use this paper, so I got it out, and I think I'm going to put it with craft. And then I was thinking I would use this and put my sentiment on it and then mat it with craft. So maybe this is a happy birthday, or I don't know what I have that's a square. Thank you. Some of the older stamps, a lot of those, especially the Stampin' Ups, they were squares, so they'll go nicely on there, or rectangles. A lot of the newer trendy stamps, happy birthday is written out as a rectangle. So I'll just look through my stash and see what works. And the way I'm going to approach these is I'm going to look at each side of this paper and say, okay, do I want to use the yellow or do I want to use the blue? Well, I don't love this yellow pattern. I mean, Cheryl, can you give me that? It's washed out, I think. It doesn't bring me a lot of great energy. It might be okay as a border on this, but I think you'd probably need at least 1/4 of an inch to make it interesting, and maybe another mat between them even. Let's see. It's just, it doesn't speak to me. Maybe like that, but I'm more likely to use the blue side. And a good cutter, you can chop them with the intention of using the blue and then flip it over. There's not much of a ridge or mess, so you could use either side and change your mind. And if your cutter makes a ridge, you can take a bone folder or something plasticky and just kind of like rub along the edge in case it lifted up or something. Some of the paper trimmers where you slide it back and forth, they make more of a ridge. That's just a picky thing. You don't even have to do that. And you don't need a bone folder to succeed in card making. Then same, I'll do the same here. Okay, I like that. Touch of pink in there though. So look at this, and what would I layer that with? And would that be a waste? Maybe. So I'll look through the papers. Sometimes I just start chopping. Sometimes I watch TV with Mr. Crafting and Relaxing and just start chopping. This one we know I want to use and make cards with. I'm super bummed that this is on the back of it. I kind of wish that was on the back of this. So I'm definitely going to want to make a card like this with these two combined. So that's going to wipe out 2 of those right there. So I'll look through them and then I'll start laying more out like this and figuring out what I'm going to use and digging around, and I'll come back later and show that to you. So this will be a process behind the scenes, but you won't necessarily see every bit of it because I am going to craft with other people along the way, so I won't film the whole time. But these are just random things that I went through my stash and thought, will this work? Oh, this is probably a little bright, right? We're probably not going to use that, but we can use this. And I didn't find all the parts yet because I wanted to be sure that I would actually use it before I dug for it. This would be super cute on here too. I could make this a high card and then leave that. You never know. Cracks me up when I start laying things out and then I edit the video later and I'm like, oh, I never made that card. It's the next day and you can see that I have made a few cards. 1, 2, 3, not done, 4, and there's a couple down there that aren't done yet. And what I've been doing is a little bit different than my normal process. Well, I don't know. If you've been here a while, maybe I don't have a normal process. There were 2 of these and I dug through and went, okay, this stuff requires planning to use. These are all tiny last minute embellishments that you can pop on a card. I've got cardstock out because I've been making. And then I just started digging through my embellishments. After I had about, I don't know, it's probably like 7 cards started or something. I just got a little bored because this paper is, yes, there's blue. It's not a royal. It's a touch of violet. I was trying to find things that went with it. So I just started digging through my embellishments and finding things that I might use. This washi came in Happy Mail. And look at this washi down here. I think this would be great on one of these cards. The background is not white. It's a pale blue or green. I started going through my puffy stickers. Oh, look, these are the actual puffy stickers that go with this collection. Clearly, I like it. Again, though, so magical and my happy place. All good things are wild and free. I don't know if I'm going to use those on cards, but we will use them. And I was watching a video today, I think it was Corey Dahlman, and she was making these cute little tiny things to put in journals and on journal pages, and they would be stunning with this paper. So maybe we'll make some of those, and then we could use some of these stickers that just don't quite go. I've mixed and matched here. That one's not from this collection. Oh, here's more puffy. I think what I did was I was working on something. Must have been birds. Yep. See, this is when I was working on bird journals. I must have put a bunch of bird things together. So these are also off of this. And I like what I did with the counter. This is here because I was crafting with a friend. So I put my laptop here so we can zoom. And there's some stuff down there that doesn't really go. I haven't gone through this yet. This looks at first glance more journal making, doesn't it? Doesn't it look messy? Wouldn't it be great if I'm not saying I'm going to be a labeler. If you're new here, let's set realistic expectations. Oh, these are cute. I bet these are from Tony. But I could label, hey, this is for journal making. Ooh, we should be able to use this butterfly. There's not necessarily violet in here, but just, the earth tones. Look at that. Yeah, let's work that in. Which one of you sent me this? This is lovely. So, okay, maybe I will go through there, but I need 2 hands to do it. So we'll set it down here. I started making cards card bases because I realized I didn't have card bases. Even just to get to 6, I had to make some. I need to actually set up a big assembly line. But Mr. Crafting and Relaxing and I were going somewhere, and I thought, well, I'll stamp half a dozen and then they'll be dry when I come home. How you doing, buddy? Yeah, my little crafty buddy. Zeus is on a break. He was laying right here all cozy and adorable, but Mr. Crafting and Relaxing went out to the shop and he wants to go. What he wants to do is try and put his ball on the treadmill while Mr. Crafting and Relaxing is running. So you can see why he has to stay in here. And he's pouting. Huh, buddy? You say hi? Oh, he says, my life is so hard. If you've been with me for a while, you know that I'm not really into tutorials because I don't think I do things better than other people. But I do like to show you, real life and crafting and what's going on. And I'm happy to share my mess with you. Sometimes I do a big assembly line. This is sort of part of the, let's get the craft room cleaned up. I've been pulling stuff out of here because I'm going to Scraps KC. I think I told you that in April. And Kansas City, it is my favorite creative reuse store. And I feel like I have to justify buying stuff, and I also need to make room. And I think before I started digging around this morning, I was feeling a little bit, not motivated. What am I going to do with this gorgeous paper? And then I realized, hang on, this is hazelnut mocha something from Pete's. Tanisha K got me hooked on this. YouTube, your YouTube friends, it doesn't matter if they're not down the street, they can still heavily influence your life. Maybe I'll encourage you to craft, relax, and exercise today. I'm gonna be honest, I haven't done the exercise part, but it could happen. Okay, but anyway, where was I? I was struggling a little with motivation, and I think some of it is a lot of the stuff that is on my counter has been here a long time. My friend Noni came over and we did tons of cleaning. I'm going to sort through this and see if there's stuff we want to use in here. But still, I mean, like this ribbon, it's gorgeous. I'm going to put it in a possible Joy of Blue pile I started earlier. I lost the pile already. It's gorgeous, but I haven't done anything with it. And then some of these things, like I would have never found this in here. So more organizing to do, and also really figuring out where should things be so they get used. The declutterers, like the really good ones if you watch them, they talk about putting things away. I get their names right. I think her last name's White, and I think she's, is it Diana? She's in the Clutterbug group. She's one of those three. Anyway, when I listened to her audiobook, so here's what I did. I had headphones on. I listened to her audiobook. It was brilliant because essentially you can't listen to an audiobook about decluttering and not get moving. These are gorgeous. See, some of this stuff comes in Happy Mail and then I think, oh, this is amazing, but I don't necessarily know what I'm going to do with it. Today might be the day for these. I think Tony might be doing Sticky Club. Are you doing that, Tony? Because I don't know where all these great stickers are coming from. Nancy made this. Let's play with some of this. I think this is more stuff I would use in journals. Oh my gosh, that's cute. See the good in all things. Oh, look at that. Did you stamp that, Nancy? I bet you did. That's really cool. And then look, I have my little Sadie card sitting here. You guys just send me the neatest things. I'm going to take this Post-it off because I think they have a life, and then they start to stick. This is super cool. It's good colors, too. I'm going to take this out because I think this should go like, I don't know, on a notebook or a computer or a water bottle. Love this. I don't think there's anything here. Oh my gosh, I got to put this in my travel one, huh? I don't think there's anything here I want to use on this paper. So that's just kind of what I've been doing all morning, except you weren't here for the other parts. I don't know that it's exciting. I was watching a lot of YouTube too, but then I decided I had to get moving. I think I put this in a journal once and it fell out, or maybe I had more than one. This doesn't feel, oh, you know what? Some of these might be really good because they come in white and cream. I mixed them, but there might be some that are good for this paper and would work for a sentiment. Enjoy the journey on a card. Follow your heart. See, enjoy the journey in white and in cream because I mixed them. Own your dreams. When nothing is sure, everything is possible. Ooh, I got an idea for that one. Light the Way. These were Tim Holtz. They were super popular. I must have gotten overzealous and bought 2 packs, right? I think I've shared them in Happy Mail with some people. If you don't use them because they're too thick, which honestly, if they were stickers, I probably would have used them like all by now. But you can tear the back off and thin the layer down. I don't know. We might use some of these, but they're not like, happy birthday and have a great day and that kind of stuff. They're not really like card. And also, what I've noticed a lot, hot stuff, I think that's from a happy birthday sentiment or something. What I've noticed a lot is the people who give cards a lot, they still do fairly traditional things. Thinking of you, happy birthday, sympathy, of course, get well. So in my circle of people who want to buy my cards or get my cards, and then of course I have the dog rescue, which I didn't tell you guys a lot about. I'll tell you more about that. I just didn't tell you a lot about the card part. I told you about Zeus. They don't use collect beautiful moments. If I make this card, it will sit in my bin until I send it because my mom's not going to send that card. A lot of my dad's friends that buy my cards, they're not gonna. Those I think are like younger people and journal makers and that kind of thing. So that's just something that I've noticed. The really creative, collaged, layered sentiment, and with a sentiment like this cards, they don't sell. And part of it is some of those I get carried away and they don't mail. Dwell in possibility. Be true. Like, in what scenario do you get that as a card, right? But they're very cool. Limited edition. That might be fun on a birthday card. I don't see anything in here we're going to use today. I do see a lot of things that would distract me and I would have fun with. The green's just not really right. It's a little bright for these. That would be cute for one of those cards, you know, with something coming out of it. Butterflies. In this case, it could be birds or butterflies, but it's just too green. Maybe on this paper, but not with the minty. The colors in this are pretty unusual, at least in my craft room, because they're natural, but they're also very pastel-y. So a lot of the bold and jewel tones and stuff that I have tons of and love don't work. I saved this. It was the actual envelope, but I just loved it so much, I saved it. I think I'm going to put it as a journal pocket. It would be cool. My stuff to use for making journals pile is getting to the point where I'm thinking, if it could happen, I have no idea when you guys are going to see this video. It doesn't matter, I'll tell you. If I can kind of get organized this week, maybe I'll set up a table and make some journals, because that would help clear out the counter. Then I can justify buying more stuff. The other thing I got out this morning was some dies, and they're buried because that was right after, maybe it was still during my first cup of coffee, and then I went into puffy stickers. See, I was thinking this dragonfly with a bunch of brown, like maybe not that paper, but it does go with these papers. Anyway, dies. If you're stuck a little bit and you're trying to figure out, hey, what do I want to do next with this collection or this? Oh, I should put this in the pet stuff. With this paper, and where is this going? Look through different supplies in your room and say, okay, what haven't I used or what works? And for me, I'm trying to figure out the card designs themselves, because this was in my stash, so I went through and pulled it out. I pulled the flowers off the counter. This one, I cut the hello out of the paper that goes with it, and there's a layer of vellum right there. I'm not sure if you can see. Found the puffy sticker and the tiny butterfly. This was actually out of this Prima chipboard that's a different collection, I think. Yeah, it was right there. So the style fits, even though maybe it wasn't exact. And I don't believe that all your embellishments have to come from the collection or even have to come from the same collection. Life is too short for that. And you can see what I've done to my embellishment packs and different things, because sometimes I want all the butterflies together and sometimes I want all the birds. And sometimes I cut parts out of them so I can put them in a different place. They're yours. Go for it. We're going to stop the video now because I don't want this coffee to get cold. It's too good to waste. So I'm going to sit down and drink this, and then if Mr. Crafting and Relaxing doesn't come in here and start banging around, then I'll turn on the video and we'll work on some of this stuff together and see if we can make cards. See, I have all this stuff down here in layers. Those of you who are super tidy and think sequentially and maybe even plan which papers are going to go with what, this might make you crazy, but I'm having a blast. That last section was at 10 a.m. and now it's like noon. You know, real life gets in the way sometimes, but the kitchen is clean and I drank that coffee and the sun actually came out too, so that's exciting. I was thinking these stickers, they're vellum. The joy of vellum stickers is you can use them and the background will show through. But if you're going to put them on something like this, you have to back them with a piece of paper. So let's find a scrap. If only we had paper here. That, is this wide enough? Wow. That is straight out of the scrap jar, people. So what I think we could do, if I do that, then those little notches are going to show, or I'm going to cut them out. I think if I glue it on there or stick it on there perfectly, then I can fussy cut those notches out and that'll be cute. If we don't like it for this card, we'll use it for something else. So anyway, kitchen's clean. Sun has come out. I never show you guys my kitchen because, I mean, it's just boring. It is literally like 60s original with new Formica and new linoleum. That's it. It's not exciting. Oh, I guess it has appliances that are, but... So when you see my backyard and you're like, wow, her house must be fancy. Hilarious. Hilarious. I think my mom's exact words were, well, you're going to have to gut that kitchen. Let me tell you a secret, you guys. You can make a frozen pizza anywhere. Like, it doesn't take a fancy kitchen. So if you're not into cooking, who cares? Now, I understand a lot about resale and real estate, and that's great, but I'm not worried about that. Okay, let's cut that one off. That one didn't have a butterfly on it, so I know I don't want that one on my card. There we go. Zeus is asleep right next to the sliding glass door because it is sunny and it's coming in. He went out on the deck and then he looked at me like, really? Because he was disappointed. Seriously, Tony, how do you get the backs off? I don't think the washi tape or masking tape trick is going to work. You know how for napkins you pull them apart? I don't think that's going to work here because it's just a really thick plastic backing. But I am sure this is a sticker. Or you'll never see this video because it's not a sticker and I spend a half hour trying to get it apart. I'm not going to make you watch that. Okay, I'm going to turn off the camera and see if I can get this apart. I finally got it. What I did was I kinked it towards the front more. I also put on glasses. Yep. Isn't that a sad reality? I have to have glasses for crafting sometimes. Terrible. Also, I don't think the glasses I put on are very clean. Okay, now we know it's like a perfect fit. So I'm thinking if we line up one side, you know, wallpaper or rub on it across. There we go. And I don't think we're going to use all three. There we go. Oh, that is gorgeous. We'll trim it down. I think it'll be pretty cute. So we're going to have to cut the ends. So there's no point in fussy cutting that. So if we cut just below that line, and just below that line, it's going to be pretty close. Okay, now let's check if I put it to right there. Yep. Go big or go home. If you're super worried about measurements and you're a perfectionist, this might not be the hobby for you. Oh, that's fun. I could leave the white. I don't know that I can. It's just, I think it accents the tickets more if you just cut it out. And all you have to do is turn the paper. See, I didn't move the scissors, and it won't matter if it's perfect. Just be sure if you don't cut right on the spot that you get the white, right? Because you don't want extra white. You'd rather cut into the blue there. And you just turn the paper. And I'll be honest, you're in the way a little bit. You really are. I think that's why sometimes people don't like making process videos so much. Well, that, and if your battery stops or you forget to turn on the camera, which I just checked, okay, I did turn on the camera, then you miss a whole segment. And so that's really hard to do in tutorials because then you have to start over. Okay, there we go. And I, just because I can't handle it, I'm gonna just take this little bit of white off because it's just so cute. And right in this moment, you probably don't see the white much. It's not very like loud, but when we lay it down on that blue paper, it's going to jump. So let's take it off. Oh my gosh, that's cute. And if you wanted to, you could ink the edges, either black or, you know, like an earth tone. That would knock the white back, so you wouldn't even have to use scissors if you didn't want to, and make it pop more. So I might do that. I also have this gray, you know, the new gray, Lost Shadow. That might be nice along the edge. But I don't know how well that will dry on this vellum sticker, so I think I'm just going to leave it. Okay, now, I'm not going to glue it down yet because we need to figure out what our sentiment is going to be. And I have a lot of rectangle sentiments like this, but some are big and I'd have to move it over. And again, I want it to be one we're going to use. Earlier, I played with this set of stickers, and what I did was I took the love and the happy and all of that apart, and I'm going to put those in my dog stuff because I think those would be good for the pet rescue. And then I took some of the ones, Create and Faith and others, and stuck them either on this paper, this one I did, or I tried to use one of these, but it wasn't quite big enough to cover that. And then I put some of them in my I don't know what you call it, trash box that I use for junk journaling, clearing out another sticker set because I move that around, but I never think of it in the right moment. And that's what I was trying to do, is just figure it out. Since we already used a set of these on one of these cards, I don't think I'm going to use this one. I think I'm going to tuck this in a nature journal thing and move on. Because, you know, I like variety in my cards. Okay, now this is already hooked down and I don't know where it's going, so maybe we should plan better. But let's put some of this washi on one of these cards or pieces of paper because I just feel like it fits. Maybe not so much on the blue and black one, right? Let's find the actual paper we have left. This is really minty. I think it's kind of nice. Maybe it's too green. This is all mint, no green. This is not Andrea's kind of paper pad. There's just a complete lack of green and purple. What I was thinking I would do is when we're further along, I'm going to look at my scraps and then fussy cut some of these. Or as I go to cut a card layer, I'll look at this side and say, I want to try and save this butterfly. I'm going to use this side, something like that. I just want to make it work, you know? Let's try it. Let's cut one of these on a vertical panel. The paper on the back of this is actually pretty green. Oh, it would be really good with that. I'm looking at this it's a very vertical pattern and I want to pick up more of it, not just have one line. So I'll show you. It's really nitpicky and not important. I know, even I do that sometimes. I don't know what's wrong. I went with a horizontal cut so that at the top and the bottom, I'm going to have lots and lots of these. And then maybe on the side, I'll have one section where I don't really like the way it lines up. Like maybe it's just like that, or you get like one perfectly straight row. That's just me. That's not a real thing, right? There's not supposed to be rules. That's just me doing something weird. But I do look at how will the pattern behind it show and how much of it will show and how will it look. See? I just love the top and the bottom. Can you guys see? I don't even know if I have all the lights on. That's pretty cute. I think we should ink that so it pops a little better. I have somewhere. Here we go. An ancient cat's eye. No, I don't think you can get them anymore. And yes, I have all the fancy brushes and inks. This one is a little bit reddish. It's called like cocoa or something. So for some papers, it's not very good, but it really does go nicely with this one. Okay, now I'm going to set this aside and let it dry and then probably glue the wrong two layers together. That happened to me on one earlier. When I went to put the embellishment on the card, I was like, that's not what I was going to do. This thing is literally falling apart. It's ancient. So just going gently and then I don't know, this may be its last hurrah. But I love them. I love cat's eyes. They are for lazy people. Oh, yeah. Can you see the difference? Like it just made that edge pop a little. I don't ink things a lot, but when you have two really pale papers together like that, it helps. Okay, now, I almost forgot the whole point of this, didn't I? It is almost like it's hanging. Let's go... I don't think I want to cover up the edge of the inked card. And I decided I didn't want to wrap it all around because I want the border to show. There's no right or wrong way to put washi across the front of a card. And the stuff shows through because it's a vellum washi. Well, that's fine. It just adds some interest that another card didn't have. Kind of makes them look like they're sitting in a little nest too. Then I have these tiny strips. Just putting those in my little strip jar for now. And these chunks. Look at me, tidying as I go. I almost always finish the video and then find more paper. Or I go to clean up. I've gotten better about not filming for project shares right in a hurry. I try and clean up first, but man, you don't know. Okay, what about see possibility everywhere? It's just kind of a fun way to make it pop. Now, the thing is, if I put that on there, it's going to look cool. But what am I going to do with it? I don't care. The funny thing is this, I think, is already inked with the same ink. Like, it was just meant to be there. Let's just hit it a little more. I love this paper, so I'm really having a hard time covering it up. This one with all the birds. I was thinking about doing some of those designs like Christy Marcotte does sometimes when she takes like a big oval or something and then it's just this paper and it goes off the edge of the page. That was what I had in mind when I got out the ovals, because I love the paper so much. So I think that's where we're going. I do send cards, like, personally, I'm not good at birthday cards. I'm pretty terrible at holiday cards, you may have noticed. But I do send, like, I don't know, if you like pick up and move across the country, or if you are just going through a lot in life, or you're trying to figure out a career change, sometimes I do send cards for things like that. And I think I would use this. I mean, maybe the average person wouldn't, but I don't always make cards for other people. It's just that if I make too many cards like this, I won't use them. I mean, I have a journal I need to get mailed out, and 2 cards on my list that need to be sent. And I should have done it this morning while I was drinking coffee, but I didn't prep either one of them. Not even a card. Maybe this afternoon while I'm puttering in the craft room, I will choose a card and put it where I'm going to sit and drink coffee in the morning. Oh, what do you think? I kind of love it. Maybe you're looking for more from a card. I think more shows in person than on camera, right? So the edges of everything are inked. We have this washi, which one thing that I really like personally about process videos, and why I do try and make them for you guys, is things don't always show on camera, but if it's a process video, then you know to think about it. Like, you know, I put that washi there. Had I made this on video, you would have known that vellum was back there, see? But it's not easy to see on camera. I had something on a card the other day, and when I went to clean up, I realized I didn't talk about it in a project share, and there was no process video, so you guys don't know I did it. I can't remember what it was. We're not gonna try. Card bases. These could use a cream. My cream is very yellow. See, it's not bad, but they lean towards cool tones a little more. So then they use white too. These can go either way. And honestly, I only have vertical card bases. So we're not going to use cream, because I started making horizontals. See, that's how I choose here. It's not rocket science. I forgot this is the Michaels paper. And when I made these bases, I forgot that it's wider than 8.5. So I forgot to check that and trim it. So all of these need a little tiny something cut off. For a long time, I just thought I was really bad at scoring and folding, but the entire pack of paper was off. Maybe they thought 1/8 of an inch of paper was a gift. No, for me, it was a nightmare. I made this one almost card size. I only left like 1/8 of an inch around. I mix it up and go both ways. But sometimes, depending on the layer of the very back, that's how I decide. And let me flip this over in a second and show you. This is such a dainty little pattern that I thought if you only had like 1/8, it wouldn't really show. I mean, the color would show, but it wouldn't have as much interest. So I tried to squeeze out as much patterned paper onto this card as I could, without making it a full 5.5 by 4.25. And I'm going to be totally honest with you. The reason I don't make my card fronts the same exact size as my card is because it's a lot harder for me to line them up and make them fit. I mean, my card bases get a little crooked, they get a little off. So that's just me. If you want to make your card fronts 5.5 by 4.25 and it makes you happy and you just stand them up vertically and pop them on there perfectly every time, oh great, go for it. Or if you make your card bases straight and proper every time. I don't know if you guys noticed, but we don't have the actual pin. I did get one off the bulletin board, but at some point we need that. Most of the ones that they sell that say will not rust do rust. Okay, I made this yesterday, I think. We might as well fold and trim this. When you have to trim every one of them exactly the same way, you start to figure out it might not be you. That wasn't enough. I went too skimpy. There we go. Yes, I'm just putting the tiny, tiny scraps that'll vacuum up onto the floor. The room needs to be vacuumed anyway. The room pretty much needs to be vacuumed anytime after I craft. Wow, this is a lot of pastel, isn't it? If you've been watching me for a while, you know I'm freaking out. Okay, so we have this one and this one. I wonder if we can use these on here. Maybe not the star. It's just, they're like the perfect color. What were these for? Why are they so big? I like the stitching across the bottom, but this one I kind of bent up, I think. So I'm wondering if I should trim them and just lay them down flat. If you are new here and you think, wow, that's a weird card, I absolutely love blue. And joy was my word for like 2 years. Then I tried a different word, which let's just say it backfired on me a little bit. It wasn't my best word ever. Things got a little too calm around here, I would say. So I went back to joy. I love to make cards that have the word joy on them, or say spread joy or choose joy. And because of that, you guys are kind enough to send me really cool stuff like this. Oh, I like this. This is going to be fun. I mean, the odds of me cutting all these the exact same aren't real good, but we can try it. Look, I'm actually going to mark something. I just think it would be quicker, and I think you won't lose your mind trying to watch me. Now, the only thing we need to check is I did cut some off of both because it was kind of dented up. So my letters aren't going to line up if I get too crazy. Does that matter? Do we even care? I don't think we care. I don't think you're going to be like, that's a terrible card because things didn't line up. Go to the source again. And these may have come to me in perfect condition, but I probably banged them around in a bowl on the counter and piled things on them. But thank you so much, whoever sent me these, because they are cute. If you don't have a really good cutter, be careful about turning something upside down like this and cutting. I'm going to be very careful when I make my cuts, and I think I'll be okay. But some cutters would make a ridge, or they would mess up the front. So you might want to keep that in mind and measure or use a pencil and be able to erase it on the front. This is one of the many Tim Holtz cutters. There's that new one that just came out, and I love this one. My standard is, if heaven forbid I dropped something or stepped on it, that's usually what I do, would I replace it? And the answer is yes on this. And sometimes I don't think you can go online and buy that cutter. I don't know what the situation is with it right now. Should we leave them that width? What if we put some specialty paper behind them? Oh my gosh. Use it, not just buy it? I know, crazy talk. It's spring. Don't you think we need some of that iridescent paper? I played with this last year with spring cards, and it was just fun. Here we go. We probably don't need giant pieces of it, so we're gonna need a little more. Here we go. I am thinking I'm going to back each one and then see if I can let the black pop through. Does that make sense? So when I make cards, when I'm smashing a whole pad, I mean, not all the time, but when I'm smashing a whole pad, I just get stuff out and start playing and sort of see what happens. And I know some people, they plan things. They say, oh, well, I have big bin of specialty paper just fell and scared me. Didn't hurt me, actually. Oh, I think I am going to have one of those bruises on your foot that you look at and go, what's that from? Anyway, oh, I bent that. Now it has like a bend mark. Okay, there. I like it better that way. Now this is going to make them lumpy. So we might need to accommodate for that a little bit. And remember, when you're using mirror paper, you have to be super, super skimpy with your glue because it just does not absorb as much. So I'm going to put a tiny amount. Well, first I'm going to get it opened up. I'm going to put a tiny amount on each side, and then here, and then I'm going to watch where I lay this down. And I'm going to be really careful about not sliding it around, especially if you're not using art glitter. I like Barely Art also. It allows you a little bit of move time, and I almost always mess that up because I get in a hurry and I slide things. So I think art glitter is probably a little safer for me. Oh, that's going to be cute. Okay, now, same thing here. And I'm just eyeballing, right? Now these little tiny pieces, I'm not gonna knock these on the floor yet because we might use those to make sure these aren't sloppy looking. Oh, the little guy's awake. Are you awake, buddy? So here, remember, I'm gluing on mirror, so we don't want a puddle, but we need enough to get it to stick, right? And then we can't slide it around. You can kind of clean it off of your mirror paper too, but it just gets annoying. Here, let me zoom you better so you can see. Okay. Some of this stuff I always wonder, like, what did you guys save this from? Or was it an actual embellishment? You know, was it like project or product packaging? I don't know, but these were really cute. I do not need Kleenex boxes, you guys. You don't have to send me yours. I have plenty of Kleenex. And I am trying to get you to cut back on the Happy Mail. But I think when I use stuff and have a blast with it, then you're like, see, you need it. Okay, look at this. Oh my gosh. I love it. Now, I don't know how the iridescent paper looks on the thing. I am thinking I want to trim these just a little for a couple reasons. A, I bent this one when I jumped. I actually kind of damaged it. Now I'm going to make this a little bit narrower. And remember, we have what I would call lumpy layers on the back too. So we might have to check that a little. But I think this like denim look is really cute with the striped paper. I mean, like somebody planned it. And I just want a little more of that black floral to show through. And I'm holding these down really tight because if I don't, as the blade comes down, it's going to move them and they're going to shift. So if you're not used to those kind of cutters, keep that in mind. You have to hold this stuff down. Okay, I might have gotten the J a little bit narrow, but I love it. For like a one more, wouldn't that be fun? What if we put like a spring floral washi? Oh, you know what I have that I never use? I think it's too big for this though. See, this is how you get variety in your cards. You just look around. I have this big roll of washi, but I just don't think it really works here. I don't think it's what we want. And I, of course, have blue. What about a touch of this one? I just think it'd be fun to have something organic in there and mix it up a little. I do have this too, but it's just not even the right blue. Okay, so then what I'm thinking, have I glued these? Yeah. And you don't have to, right? You could just put your layers. Some of this is, I have these random supplies and I want to play with them. I have no idea if it's straight. Doesn't feel very straight, does it? Let's, before we glue that, or like seal it down flat. This is why people have boards, because you can, oh, it is. It's pretty straight. Look at that when you put it on the grid. So when you use your glass mats or your quilter's cutting mats, there's a quilter's mat on the other one. You can use them to say, okay, is that ribbon straight across the front or is that washi? And that's great. But the glass mat is really reflective when you're filming. And I don't know if you noticed, but mine had a lot of blue paint on it. There we go. Then it's a little dark, almost like we need to matte these again, but you know, I was trying to get them to show the behind. But when we put it on a card base, here, let's take this one because we did this one first. It will pop more because it has more white. I'm gonna glue that together off camera and it'll probably look like that when it's done, but you can't know for sure with me. So you can see in the other video. Okay, pastel. I'm gonna take a minute, I know it's crazy, turn off the camera and do a tidy up because I wanna find the pin and I wanna see what we have that goes with this. And I wanna decide, am I gonna put this across here? I don't know if I am. Also, his little tail's messed up. I just don't think you guys wanna wait while I tidy. I did some cleaning, I made some things, have a little cluster here, but I haven't figured out that card for sure. I wanted to show you this next part that I'm gonna do. I don't know if it's gonna work, but I'll show you. I had this piece from Happy Mail and then I was trying to find a sentiment that would be nice on this card. I was thinking, sorry, we have company and there's cooking going on. There's all sorts of stuff, but otherwise you're going to miss this. I think I could cut right here and put the thank and the you, and we might do that. And I have 2 layers to double it up, but I also feel like it needs to be embossed. This has some shine on it and there's some drops on here. So I don't know, it just spoke to me and said, let's emboss this. What I haven't decided is if I'm going to glue the layers together first. If I get embossing powder on the back and it gets really chunky, that's going to get messy to glue them together. But if I don't do a good job gluing them together, then we might have troubles. What I think I'll do is I'll try gluing them together. And then in theory, as we put embossing powder and stuff on them, they will layer up. Now, if you have never embossed your die cuts, oh, you should. It is great. And I'll show you a couple different ways. I have a variety of products. Some of them I picked up used. So you don't necessarily need the products that I am using. You just need something. So I didn't check to see if I took the little punchies out. I did. So we're going to layer these up. And the reason that I layered it was just to make it thick, because I was thinking at first, oh, I'll just layer it up 2 or 3 times, and then I thought, I'm going to take it to the next level. This is also a great project to do where you use colored embossing powder, silver or gold, and you could use your scrap papers because, really, it doesn't matter what color it is, because when you're done with those, they won't show. Now, I've got glue sort of seeping out and making a little bit of mess. All I'm trying to do is get it straightened up a bit if I can. It did not go down in a perfectly aligned layer. This is a really fiddly die cut. This one's a little borderline for me as far as whether I enjoy using it, but it fits in so many spots that some of my other ones don't because it's little. Now for embossing, we're going to do heat embossing, if you're wondering. You can use Versamark. You can use, I don't know, this I got somewhere. You can use Wow, and they have a roller. This one is like a deodorant roller. I don't know that I recommend it. Andrea got the brush version of that, more like nail polish, and I think that was probably the better way to go. If I didn't have all these other gadgets, I would use my pad and push it on there. And if these fail me, that's what we're going to do. I have a piece of paper that says clear and has been sitting around probably for months, probably last used during holiday stuff. Now, I don't usually emboss my die cuts with clear. Usually I would do like a word and then have it be silver or gold or something. But you can do whatever works and whatever you have the products for. And if you watch a video like this, maybe you don't have the same products that I have, but maybe this reminds you about some products that you do have. I'm thinking we should cut it, but we're going to wait till the very end to decide on that. Now, the trick to embossing your die cuts is just do it more than once. There's a part of me that wants to take this and stick it on here and get this paper goopy. You don't want to do that. Don't do that. This is the easiest way probably. If you don't have a glass mat or fancy mixed media tools, use a piece of saran wrap or a piece of packaging, something so that you are not getting your counter and your whole workspace yucky. This is dirty, you guys. We have a problem, Houston, because you know how I am about cleaning up. There is something on this that is not clean, and now I've gotten it on here. So let's get a Kleenex. It almost looks like I used a black embossing powder or something and got it on there. Let's try wiping this off. Do you think it's like mold? It's mold. Gross. Okay, we're going to throw that out. Don't worry, we're going to burn the germs right off of that, though. Let's try the rolly thing. And then, like I said, if it doesn't work, we're going to use the pad. The rolly thing, I should have bought the brush like Andrea. And I don't remember if we got them at different times or the same time. Okay, now I'm going to use, this is a very fine die cut. So I'm going to remember to take it off of there. Now I'm trying to have a clean space. This is my gooey space. Here's my clean space. And I'm going to use the finest clear powder that I have. I do have a chunky powder, but for this, with this fiddly fine die cut, I want the small one. And I am never skimpy with the powder because we're going to dump all of this back into the jar. 20 years from now, I can still be running on this same exact bottle. Does that make sense? I'm gonna go like that. I'm gonna move this. Okay, if I'm really on my game, like if you watch my like embossing 101, you're always gonna put this away now, because otherwise you're going to spill it, or you're going to hit it with the wind from the heat gun and blow it across your room. If you've been around a while, you've done both of those. Heat your gun up first. Now, the sound of the gun is annoying. Oops. Keep in mind that, at least in my videos, I'm going to edit out the time where I warmed up the gun. But you always want to warm it up before you put it right at your powder, because if the gun isn't hot enough, it will blow your stuff away. Now, this is a better way to do this. I was just trying to make it so you could see up close. You want to heat emboss until it goes shiny. If you can still see sand, keep going. There are no rules about how many times you do it. I find that it is fun sometimes to emboss the same thing 2 or 3 times and get it really thick and wonderful, especially when I'm doing like a silver or a gold and I'm just, I don't want any of the paper to show. I'm just covering the whole thing up, and it doesn't mess it up, doesn't cause problems. I think years ago, I didn't know that you could really go over it over and over. The only trick is you don't want to hold the gun in the same place for too long because you'll burn something. Oops, you guys let me do that on that piece of paper. Oh well, I didn't make too much of a mess. Let's go over here. I think that will dry and my paper will still be usable at some point. Some people use coffee filters, some people use containers. I had my powders in plastic containers for a while. What I found was I don't emboss enough to make it worth the space, and it just wasn't worth it. Like if you are obsessed with heat embossing, which I think we all go through that phase, and you want to keep your clear or your white or your silver or your gold in a Tupperware, go for it. Now, when you're doing this, the last layer is the most important, because every time you add the whatever adhesive or ink you're using to make the powder stick and powder, I'm trying to get unhooked and I'm stuck, it will self-correct essentially. So if you touched it last time and you had a little divot, there we go. Or if you didn't like something, every time it's self-correcting and fixing it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to let that cool and dry. Then I'm going to look at it up close and see if I think we want to go for a third time or if I'm okay with 2. Because it's such a fine dye, I'm already starting to fill in between the letters. So I might just want to stop at 2. But it gives you an idea of how to do it and what to do. If you don't have a glass mat, be really careful about what surface you're doing this on, because with die cuts, you're trying to find a way to hold it down and to heat on it. This will mess up your countertop or that kind of thing if you don't think it through and have some layers, or maybe you could use a cookie sheet with a, big vinyl, what do you call those? Like a silicone heating pad or trivet under it, something like that. And experiment, when in doubt, experiment in your garage, because that way you're not messing up your kitchen counter or your dining room table. I'll be back.